I remember you saying that you were drafted, you did not enlist.
That's right, yeah.
And where you got the letter from Uncle Sam?
Yeah. No.
No?
First I had to register when I was 18 years old.
And where did you live then? Was it Jones Chapel?
At Jones Chapel.
Jones Chapel.
And I lived in Jones Chapel when I got the notice, too. Yeah. Then I was drafted. I was at the Fort McClellan for my physical, and I come back and stayed about 4 weeks before they sent me to Atlanta. And then from Atlanta.
Do you remember where, like Fort McPherson? Or
Fort McPherson, where they done the training, yeah.
Okay.
And we went from Fort McPherson to Wichita Falls, Texas, Chesapeake. And that's where I had my base.
Was it by bus or train?
Troop train.
Troop train.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, still everybody managed to have a little fun, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, they did. It was interesting. Unless you went on a long trip, like we had to go from Long Island, New York to L.A., California on a troop train, and that wasn't fun. It was too crowded, and it was slow, and that wasn't fun. But other than that, traveling around was pretty
How
fun.
long were you in New York?
Was there all the winter.
All winter?
Yeah, we was there after
Oh
all
my
the snow,
gosh.
and when the snow broke, we went to Florida. And then that's when I got into my outfit. Then we went to New York and California. Yeah.
Okay. In California, remember where you shipped out of?
L.A., and we went to Sydney, Australia.
Oh my gosh.
And then from Sydney, Australia.
And that was a troop ship?
Yeah.
Did you get seasick or anything?
No. But our ship busted. We got into a storm and our ship busted.
Oh my gosh.
Our clothing got all wet. We got new clothes when we got there because they were in the hold and they got all wet. But
did they repair the ship or?
it was a
you
USS
have something
General
to come
Fremont, and it was brand new, and I never heard no more about it. It was a new ship. We was the first troops on it, and but I never heard even where it got back home or not from India when we got there.
And that was into Sydney, Australia?
No, we went from Sydney, we got stuck in Sydney, Australia in the mud at their dock.
Oh my God.
They unloaded the ship there. That was fun.
Oh my goodness.
We went to a ballpark and stayed all day while they was trying to get it out. But all the troops, we marched right down through the town of Sydney, Australia.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
Okay.
And stayed there on wheel all day. And they didn't get it out that day, but the next day they did. So then we went from there to Calcutta.
To Calcutta. What were you doing in Calcutta?
I went over to Burma and brought some trucks back there. As soon as we got back from going over there and getting those trucks, but that was an experience by itself because we was on that Burma road.
Oh.
Of bringing those trucks back. Not all of the Burma road, but part of it. And no bridges.
They were bombing that road, weren't
Oh,
they?
that road was something else. And when a truck would break down or fall off of one of those cliffs, they just leave it. If there was anybody on it, I didn't see them go get them. But they was crews that done that, but they were at the back of the convoy.
So you just had to keep the convoy moving? Was that the thing?
That was the main thing, yeah. So
Keep it moving.
Yeah.
Were you moving supplies?
no, it just those trucks.
Bringing the trucks in. Were you actually driving a truck?
I was driving one, hauling one, and pulling one.
Driving one, hauling one.
And pulling a Jeep. The roads were so narrow you couldn't. It was just a bobtail truck. And you put a weapons carry on the back of the truck, and you put it with the Jeep, you tied it and towed it. You couldn't have nothing any longer because you couldn't make the curves in the road with it.
It was that crooked.
It was that crooked. And some of them you had to back up to turn those trucks in.
Oh my gosh.
And
Boy,
you had to see it to believe it.
You were still, what, 18, 19 years old?
Yeah, I guess I got back home before, but when I was about 21.
And it was just that one time that you had to do that.
Yeah.
And then you went back to that cush job.
Yeah, and stayed there till my time come up to come home.
Man, I tell you, God was with you.
Uh,
I said that was through Mama's prayer.
yeah, all the movies they were outside, and the guys didn't have no backs. They sat on their benches that they watched the movies with. And you waited till dark, then you showed them the movies, and that was their entertainment.
Well, I think you had a good experience
I did.
in your war.
A lot of those wounded guys come back to that hospital.
Oh,
It's the 146th General Hospital there in Calcutta.
I think Jenny was right. You just had a great experience because you had praying parents that prayed for you.
But I never heard any guns go off. You know, at no time. Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you were when the atomic bombs were dropped in Japan. And India.
Yeah, well, when the war ended in Germany too, I was in fact, the minute I was showing the movie on the night the war ended, when they run in there and told me, I got to tell them the boys on the speaker that Germany had quit.
Oh,
Yeah.
they surrendered and you got to tell it.
Yeah.
Oh, Slim, that was a thrill.
So, yeah, it was. So.
Oh my gosh.
But then that was how come that they knew it was going to die down because they're going to use that bomb, and it did. It did, you know. So.
Well, they dropped two before they gave up.
Yeah.
You left Calcutta to go back to the U.S.
Yeah, I did, and we come back.
Calcutta.
Yeah, we come back through the Suez Canal.
Oh
And,
my goodness.
Yeah, our ship captain was a sightseer. He got off and left us sitting there in the canal over in Egypt, one of those
My God.
one of those little towns, and they run around with dates, selling dates all day long.
So you could actually buy dates from the natives.
Yeah, they throw them on the ship, or you would lower a container down. It was on the honor system. They hoped they got their pay.
And so did you come back into New York then, if you were coming from
Yeah, we come back into New York, and then we got on a train, headed to Georgia, and we went on a strike. The railroad people went on a strike.
My gosh, in 1945?
Yep, they went, and then we had to get on trucks and ride them on in. The trains just stopped.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, and that wasn't enjoyable either. But
No, that wasn't. That wasn't fun. Got on trucks, and where did you come into?
we come back to same place we left from. Ended up right back there.
Fort McPherson in Atlanta.
It was in Atlanta.
So that was Fort McPherson then.
Fort McPherson.
And then you took a train or a bus
A
to
bus
Coleman?
to Birmingham and then up to Coleman.
Oh my gosh, were
Okay.
you happy to get home?
Yeah, I was. I got home in the middle of the night. It was about 3 a.m.
And what kind of greeting did you get when you woke
Well,
up, Mom and Dad late?
They were glad to see me, of course. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But they were, when we got off the bus there in Coleman, there was a couple of cab drivers there, and I wasn't the only one that got off, but they was asking which way you were going. And I said, I'm going to Phelan, and there was some guy standing there and says, I'm going to Hansville, I'll give you a ride.
Oh.
And I got a ride, and
To Jones Chapel?
no.
No.
Mom and Dad lived in Phelan. That's when they lived just below Arnold Sawmill down there in Phelan when I come home.
Okay. All right. And you woke them up in the middle of the night, but they didn't mind.
No, they didn't mind. Sure did. Yeah.
So you were dating Jenny before you even left
No,
No, met her later.
it's after I got home I'd been home a while
Okay.
before I started dating Virginia.
Was engaged,
All
your husband
right.
engaged to somebody else.
But anyway, Mom and Dad still lived there when we got married, down there at that house in Phelan.
No.
So it wasn't too long after they hadn't moved anyway, and they moved around right smart.
Now, were you drafted or enlisted?
Pardon?
Were you drafted or enlisted?
I enlisted.
Oh, okay. What, do you remember the year?
I enlisted the day before I was 18.
And which
I was born in
was?
26.
26.
That was Lincoln War. I think I enlisted in 43, December 43.
Okay. And what month is your birthday? I've forgotten that.
December.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Went to San Antonio, Texas. From San Antonio, went to Camp Roberts, California. For 6 months basic training. Came home for 10 days. Went back to California. Shipped out from Los Angeles. Troop ships headed for the invasion of Japan. Dropped the first atomic bomb while I was en route. Ended up in Eniwetok. Had 9 ships in our convoy. When I got to Eniwetok, there was hundreds of ships ready for that invasion. After the second bomb was dropped, the Japs decided they had enough. Thank God for Harry Truman. From there, I went to Leyte. Spent about a month in Leyte. Got sick, bad sick, amoebic dysentery. My outfit got away from me. I had to join another outfit. From there, I went to Cebu in the Philippines. Spent about 6 months in Cebu. From Cebu, we went to Guam. From Guam, we ended up in Saipan. Saipan, we headed for home. Thank goodness we were home. Ended up in San Francisco. 30 days later, I was on the way home.
So your military duty was it how long?
From December 46.
December 43 to 46.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You lived in Houston then?
Oh yeah, I was born and raised in Houston.
Okay. I had forgotten that, Carter.
Third generation.
Yes.
My grandparents, my great grandparents, landed in Galveston in 1845.
Oh my word. Where were they from?
Prussia.
Prussia.
Prussia and Germany.
Yes. What was their names, Carter?
Also, my brother's family. And Wagner. And we had Corporal, Wagner, and Bocale.
So you enlisted right there in Houston.
Yeah.
I guess there's all kinds of.
Claude, without an E.
Okay.
Claude.
Claude Hood, and he was born
Florence,
in Florence. I be darned.
1880. No, 1890. Mama was born in 92.
1892.
Yeah, Daddy was born in 1890.
Okay. And I know at least you had one brother.
One brother lost him with cancer
Uh-huh.
8 years ago.
Was it just your 2 boys?
He was.
Okay. And so when you found that Alabama girl, that was
Quite a
okay.
connection, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. What a coincidence. That was meant to be.
Probably so. Probably so. We've been over 6 years.
Yeah, you've been married over 60 years.
Over 6 years.
Oh,
I know. I know.
well, I know
But
everybody.
the same woman, can you imagine?
Yeah, when you get a good one, you keep
If I
it.
don't watch the time, if I go home right
Oh,
school is
Lord.
over.
Everybody appreciates your service.
All my girls.
Thank you, ma'am.
And just, well, I'm so glad you made it back to tell about it. I know it's a frightening time. Thank you, Carter. Chuck Lee, and he happens to have on a T-shirt about his military experience. It's Veterans of Underage Military Service. He has been involved in this organization of military men that happened to be underage when they went into the military, out fighting the country's battles. It's amazing what you went through, and you don't realize until later how young you were, do you?
No, not now. But my war was the Korean War. That was a long time ago.
Yes, but you were still underage.
That's true. That's true.
How old were you, Chuck, when you joined?
Barely 16.
And that would have been Coleman, Alabama?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you went in,
I didn't want to go to school, so I joined the Army.
you were serving your country, but you came out and then went back.
Yes. Well, they they went through a series of whatever. We're going to get you, we're going to find you, we're going to throw you in jail, and then we'll kick you out. But if you come in and tell us, we'll just let you go home. So I went in and I told them that I was underage. Okay, all right. And nothing happened. So after that, if anyone asked me how old I was, I would tell them the truth. And I was in for almost a year, ended up in Korea that time. And because I was so young, everybody knew I was just a kid. And someone asked me, how old are you anyway? Well, now I'm on my truthful line, so I said I'm 16. When I got old enough that my birth certificate could let me in legally, I went into the Air Force and spent the rest of my career in the
So you ended up with...
Well, yeah, I went in the Army with a 9th grade education, and when I retired, I had a master's degree. So the military gave me an education.
Oh, now that's the good story. And so many of you were able to take advantage of that.
Well, yes. A lot of... There's an organization called the Bums, of all of us guys that went in the military underage. And I haven't been to a function for some time, but we have yearly functions and here and there and everywhere with all of us. We call ourselves, I think it's for, I don't know which one I'm in. I think I'm in.
You are in number 2.
Number 2, okay.
Chuck, out of that organization and all the fun you guys had together and all your stories, then came this book.
Well, that's just one of 3.
Okay. All right. And you are in volume number 2.
Yeah.
And so if anyone has these volumes out here, you can check out Chuck Lee's in volume 2.
Right. That's right.
So been underage, and it had to get a little frightening, Chuck.
Well, it was. But, of course, we've got the briefing. You know, we know you're in here, and we're going to find you, and we're going to put you in jail, and then we'll send you home. But if you come in and tell us, we'll just send you home. Well, I went in and told them, but nothing was done about it. And I ended up in Korea. But when they would ask me how old I was, I would tell them the truth. And we were in Korea, that was during the war, and the lieutenant asked me one day, they had me as a messenger, and he was complimenting me on my abilities to do this, that, and the other. And he says, young guys can do that better than the older guys. How old are you anyway? And I said, I'm 16. And he dropped his bedroll. You're what? And it wasn't too long after that until I was on my way home.
They caught you. Yeah. They caught up. But you had
told them. I had already told them. They gave us that lecture. We know you're in here, and we'll find you, and we'll send you to jail, and then we'll send you home. If you tell us now, we'll just send you home with no jail. So I went in and confessed. So after that, I told him how old I was if I was asked. And when he asked me, how old are you anyway? And I said, I'm 16. He dropped his bedroll.
But Chuck, you were always grateful for your military career, and you were able to complete your education. So that little boy that started off at the 9th grade completed his education and ended up with
Have
two
masters. I have an MA and an MBA.
and taught a couple of colleges.
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't. I was not a full-time professor, but I was part-time.
Well, you were a big chief anyway.
Well, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I had a day
Indoor?
job, so to speak, and I taught a little bit on the side, just because I enjoyed it.
Oh, I know you do enjoy teaching, and for many years you were a Sunday school teacher too, weren't you?
Yes, I did that. I did that first, actually, and teaching Sunday school, I guess, got me kind of interested in being an instructor. So I did it on the college level.
Oh, where did you teach, Chuck?
In North Carolina, I taught Campbell University and Reinhardt University. Well, actually, it was Reinhardt College, excuse me.
And that's in Georgia.
Yeah.
That is super.
Yeah.
What a great journey story you've had, Chuck.
It was interesting, and I enjoyed it, and Sharon enjoyed it. So we had a good life.
Well, I remember you had one overseas stay where you were able to take the family.
Yes. Goodness gracious, where was that? Philippines. And while I was there, I got a master's degree from the University of the Philippines.
Oh my gosh. You just couldn't stay out of school.
Well, it kept me busy.
The family couldn't go, but the Philippines was a great experience for the children.
Yeah, they went to school there also, yeah.
To enjoy that, and they were old enough to remember it.
Oh, yes, yes. Uh-huh. As a matter of fact, David started the school there.
Oh.
Yeah, his first year in school was in the Philippines.
Born in Dora, Alabama.
Yeah.
July the
July the 9th, 1927. And we lived around Birmingham and different places until I was 16. In World War II, in 1943, they had Army hospital ships. They couldn't get enough men to make their men. And what we did, we went overseas, 30-day trip, we'd pick up all these wounded soldiers and bring them back. Sometimes we brought back German prisoners, brought back into Charleston, South Carolina.
And where would you pick them up?
Pick them up in France, we pick them up in Italy, and in England. We'd go into the port and pick them up and bring them back. And some of them was burnt, scarlet, had a complete scarlet, just burnt all over, all that kind of stuff. And I did that for 2 years.
And you mostly came back to port in Charleston, South Carolina. That's
Yeah.
where you brought the wounded back.
Yeah. We brought them back there, and then we go back again.
I mean, you're plowing through the Atlantic, and there were German ships out there.
Oh yeah, we had.
Submarines too.
Yeah, we had airplanes to fly over and drop turtles all around.
Oh my
But the
God.
hospital ship was painted red and white. It had a cross on it. So they
American
knew.
Red Cross.
Yeah, they knew that we were a hospital ship.
But they didn't care.
No,
They still
didn't
wanted to
care.
kill you.
And we thought maybe, at times we thought that we were going to be sink the ship, but they never did.
Did you ever get hit by a torpedo?
No, we never did.
But you had that worry all the time. You had that fear.
Yeah, you're taking this, you risk your life every day because sometimes these same ships will carry supplies, to different places, and they knew we had it on there. And they didn't care if it was sunk us or what. But it was, I spent 2 years doing that. When I was 18, I had to sign up for the draft.
But at 16, you were able to get in with parental consent.
Yeah, I had to go to St. Petersburg, Florida. I went through a 8-week boot camp, learning how to take care of myself and took us out on a coal burning ship.
Yeah.
He jumped off in the water and he took his shirt off and made a life jacket out of it. He had to tread water for 1 hour.
Oh my.
And it was all, and then after you got through with that, they took you out in a sailboat, and then you had to rig the sail up and sail back in. But if you couldn't get back in, then somebody come looking for you and get you.
But at 18 you were drafted?
18, I had signed up for the draft, and then when I got through, I didn't want to join the Army, so I went down to join the Navy. I was only going to stay for about 4 years and get out. But when the war broke, when I got ready to get out, we had war in Korea, we couldn't get out. I was going to be there 3 more years at least. And at the end of 7 years, I decided I only got 13 years to go, I can retire.
And make a career of it.
Yeah, so then I spent 16 years on ships. And we was in all kind of different things. You know, every time a war broke out someplace, we'd come in port, been gone for 6 months to go back out to sea because they had trouble someplace else, you know. And that went on. You see, when you're in the military and you sign that dotted line, your life is not your own. You belong to Uncle Sam the whole time you're there. You can't do anything unless he gives you permission.
But you had, what was the most fearful time you had for your life, Mike, in all that combat?
I don't know which one was the most fearful is.
A
lot of times we would go out on the ship and we had submarines underneath them.
Oh,
German submarines or whatever.
you knew were everywhere.
Yeah, we had sonar, we knew where there's at, you know.
Oh, okay.
We could drop depth charges on them and things like that. And then we had helicopters flying on both sides of us, you know, they could look down and see. And then they would tell us whether it's that we dropped bombs on us on the You guys call me that, and I've been preaching now for 47 years. I met a lady, her name was Margaret. She is my prayer warrior. She is my shepherd. And me and her were together as a team in ministry.
She is your helpmate.